Okay, so this is a Leggy, and this video is going to be a quick demo on how to use Leggy. So let's start off with the cog, which is this yellow controller. You can move the whole character with that. Also, I have this red controller that you're able to select. It does similar, but it is called the gimbal _anim controller, and this allows you to say rotations on this one and maybe translations on this one. But also, if you're doing rotations and for whatever reason you need to rotate this separately, it'll allow you to do so, and you got basically two ways to animate in that area when you're working with your rotations. I generally use the red gimbal as my waist or hips if needed, and then the cog to do my major motions. Within here we have some controllers which are basically spine controllers, and they don't actually have squash and stretch to them, but you can scale them, which is different. So if you scale down and you need this, scale out to get this legit squash volume there, but you can also do the same with the middle controller. But this allows you to do sort of separate motions with the two different divisions. And then within here you got another green controller there at the bottom that you can utilize as a waist controller if you ever choose so. So now one thing we want to make sure we know is by selecting the cog controller, if you go over to your channel box, you will have the option to turn off and on the cog controller, which that's something you can do. So for the knee look at and the pole vectors, you have options in the channel box as well, and some of it also goes for the whole leg. For instance, the IK FK, I can utilize that to turn that on and off. Oops. And then also for the pole vector, you have options down here which will allow you to choose what parent you want your look at to follow. If you want to follow the controller or the foot itself, or the world, or I think if you do parent, it follows the cog. Yes, it follows the cog. So you can do world and the controller itself in the pole vector parenting section. And you also have the IK and FK for the foot all in this controller. The look-ats and the foot controllers share a lot of the same controllers. So just be aware that if you set a key here, it may set a key in some locations on the other attributes as well. And we can go into that later about how you can separate those two so that it doesn't do that if you don't want it to. So with the foot controller, you'll see that this foot has all the controllers, this one doesn't. Same thing, if I was to select the foot controller and I go into my channel box, I have options to show the visualizations of those controllers. Here's the one for the foot. If I was to turn that on, I have access to all my foot controllers. And also with the foot controller, you also have the hip controller. So you can turn that on and you can utilize moving the hip around. So with those options, that covers the foot, but also make sure you note that in the foot you still have all your ball rolls, your toe up, downs, and your banks and everything within the foot controller as well. So now if I was to select the very base controller, you'll notice that in this one as well, in the channel box, you have more options, and right now they're both on, which is the root motion and the display offset, which if you move, you can move the whole character with the base, and then you got your secondary one, and then you got the root, which for film is not utilized that much unless you're on Unreal, but for games, the root is basically the destination of wherever the character is currently at. So if you're animating the character and your character hopped over here, most likely you'll want this route to follow. And we'll get into that later on in other workshops to go deep dive into that aspect. So this sort of concludes the Leggy walkthrough. This is part of the workshops that you can get online at my website, or just follow the link below. And happy animating.